What Baraka
because green. That will show you how it is. What today is black, that is green.
Don't worry about Wakili. He does not see the color where it's supposed to be. But you see, I actually like this discussion. The word stuck is very relative to so many other things.
Yes.
My implication of what I see you to be is that the media people, media personalities, I am one. I write my articles in the newspaper, so I understand what it means. And we do it to be read by those who are supposed to implement the law and guide policy in this country. What I'm trying to bring out, just like for Barack as well, and why he should not be offended because I'm part of the space that he's talking about, is there is much more. In life, you need to advance in many ways. Advancing does not mean leaving out what you are doing.
Exactly.
You can do much more.
Exactly.
You can be, you're better off the head of a dog than being the tail of a lion. Life is just about that. And you can keep going. I mean, I would be so surprised if anyone in KTN does not honor you with who you are, with who you make this program to be and KTN to be. We were talking of last week when the president of Uganda kept watching KTN and others. You never know who's watching you. And you're the one who makes these people come here. You trouble us, you call, you do. You have taken KTN business and also the camera team to a level that even the owner of the institutions may not do this. And therefore, I wish you success.
The word stuck here. One of the English is here. Okay. That's how I
stuck is relative.
No English when English language is here.
Mwalimu wangu wa Kiingereza. I withdraw unconditionally. Thank you. And let's proceed. Thank you very much.
It's a team effort. There's a lot of people that we don't see who make it happen. So we want also to just appreciate them. It's not me at the end of the day. I'm just, the face on TV, but the people who are working hard behind us, and we want to congratulate them. Thank you very much for you also. You're the guys who make this program as well. So we appreciate you sacrificing, coming early in the morning. And I think that is what we normally start with, the run of the day. You've challenged us, you're challenging a lot of people when you say, we should not just be level gazing in one area, we should actually be thinking broadly. So we're speaking to many who sometimes they think also, maybe they're stuck, what else can I do? How do I move forward? But maybe even there is, well, they feel this is my fulfillment and this is where I draw my joy and happiness. And this is where your calling is. Yeah, for me, I feel I get fulfilled because I know this is such an exalted, podium that we've been given.
True.
Yes.
That is the word, fulfillment.
Fulfillment.
Because I look at it on his face. I look at myself. I tell you, I'll teach for free. Because that is where my happiness comes. When there are some people in front of me, and I'm talking to them.
Thank you. Thank you. Right, so I think that's a good, kernel of truth that we get from our panelists. Let's see what is fresh off the press this morning. A lot that we have to talk about today, and that has happened throughout the week. And chaos in Parliament, as Ruto has his way, is what is on the front page of the Standard this morning. Wetangula's decision that UDA is the majority party has paved the way for the president's party to nominate members to key committees, among them the one that will vet cabinet secretaries. Protest from Azimio fell on deaf ears. You have this story well laid out for us on page 6, 7, and 8 of the Standard this morning. Right, a happy picture here. We can see the unflappable smiles there of the President, William Ruto, and the Premier of Ethiopia. This is Prime Minister Abiy, where we know the big story about Safaricom. President Ruto was in Addis yesterday for bilateral talks with Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and for the launch of Safaricom Ethiopia. We're growing as a country. Equity in DRC, equity in Rwanda, Safaricom in Ethiopia. The first one that is from a foreign country in Ethiopia. I think this is big for our country. It really shows that we are the hub, truly, here of the Horn of Africa, and we are the big brother, right? Just as we had the president saying he's a big brother, he is a big brother truly also in this region as it is right now. Dr. Barak, what do you think about this development? We should load it?
We have been for the longest time,
yes.
Although sometimes we tend to behave small. Of course, Addis should have been even bigger, seeing that they never quite experienced the colonial situation the way the rest of us did.
Yes, yes.
Apart from, of course, a very brief Italian occupation in the 1930s. But we have been a big brother, benevolent one, because this notion of big brother is sometimes quite negative when you remember the big brother who sits on the other side of Texas, which Dr. Kalua was talking about. But big brother in the sense that we are a caring big brother, bigger economy. I've enjoyed civil stability for a very long time, and quite a critical nation within this Eastern Africa region and in the Horn. Already you can see we have got our former president, Uhuru Kenyatta, leading the peace initiative within the Great Horns, the Horn of Africa region. And that greatness ought to be guarded jealously, regardless that some Lilliputians may imagine that they can just walk to Nairobi and walk away with it and settle somewhere in Lavington or Riverside Drive.
And I know, yeah, that was also a hot topic this week as well. We've seen the president of Uganda apologizing. What really came to mind, Kalua, when you heard this particular story, that particular tweet that really caused a Twitter storm?
A bad thing that should not have happened. We have had this gentleman involved in a few things. You remember during his birthday, a whole street was closed because there was a birthday. There have been words that are said time and again, but you know, there is private life and there is what you can never say about a country, because we are a sovereign state, and therefore it's very unfortunate, especially for a person at that stature. He may be buddies with some Kenyans where they're you guy, my guy kind of a situation, and therefore comments that may be hurting others. This should not have happened, and we thank God that the president apologized, but it's deep, it cuts deep to Kenyans, because we are a relationship that must be upheld. And I think the president's travel to Addis needs also to proceed also to other countries, Tanzania, Uganda, also to be seen in those places, because he's holding the ground and creating a relationship that must be upheld in the East Africa community. It's an unfortunate thing. It should not have happened. I like Kenyans. They reacted the way they did. Those babs were real good, and I think they finally realized that we are alive. But I mean, there is no reason why we should not be good friends. The general is a great man,
and don't drop the Kenyans on Twitter.
Yes, it's never. KOT will deal with you.
Seriously. Wakili, how are you? What was your response?
I looked at him and what he was saying. These are examples of people who may have risen without merit. Yes. What I saw, he may have risen without merit. There's a level when you reach.
And you're promoted without merit again.
Yes. There's a level when you reach. You become mature, you become stable, you become a leader.
Yes.
But if you are just recent, pushed through the ranks, the way you can save your mustache well, then you are bad. Then you can wake up when you are inebriated.
Yes.
Then you tweet. And that is exactly what I think this fellow was doing. But My reaction was, let him go to Somali and compare the performance of the Kenyan army and the Ugandan army in Somalia. Let him also go and see our big brother, Comrade Putin. Ask him how he's being treated by the Ukrainians. As a country, we don't provoke people. We don't provoke any country. But when you provoke us, we will Ukrainianize you. There will be a Ukraine on you. So let him know that should they think like that, we don't provoke people, we continue praying, but if you try, they will know people.
They'll know people.
Just like Putin is knowing people.
There's a very interesting editorial cartoon there in page 10, or page 16 of the Standard. Maybe also we'll have Professor now commenting, while you're commenting still on Uganda. It's still about Uganda and what we're talking about him and what they're saying that he needs some maturity a bit. I think that has been aptly captured by Gado today. If you may flip over there so that you can look at it and then we'll comment. So what really came to mind?
Which page?
Page 16 of the Standard. The editorial page there. Yeah, you have Gado with a very interesting. Let me try and put it up quickly.
Yes, I think what comes to mind, I think the general is a victim of what in management is called the Peter principle.
The Peter Pan syndrome.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I think it's the Peter principle. What it is when you are promoted beyond competence. You understand? Once you go beyond the competence, you can only go down. Because you have reached where you should never have reached. And that is what Wakil here was saying. Was saying this is a symptom of somebody who should not be holding that position, but because of connections. Okay? So he is there. So he is beyond competence. He is incompetent, but unfortunately in a serious position. And that's why we should not take him serious. Uganda is our biggest trading partner. Like Wakili was saying here, we are friendly ourselves. We don't bother our sister states. We like harmony. That's why we have stability for the last 70 years, I would say, almost 70. So we can ignore small little rats from some fellow who should not be having the position which is now using to propose some unendurable things. We would also recommend that he goes and reads the charter, the African Unity Charter, on respect for the boundaries that we inherited from the Mzungu.
That is professorial. That is professorial. Away from just the rats. I think just the rats beat because it can be mixed.
Just because it's a name. You didn't say rats, you said rants.
Oh, okay.
Please, we need to take it to English class.
We'll kill you. We'll kill him when you're killed. So,
But you looked at the cartoon?
Yes, I have. And it doesn't matter whether it is a rant or a rat. If it is the rodent, if it bites you, it may be small. You could end up with rabies. And you know that can be very chaotic. I mean, what is it called? The plague. The plague. The plague is the one that Albert Camus was writing about.
Yes.
You will end up with the plague if the rat bites you. But even if it is a rant, it is still very worrying because you are talking of someone who is a general. And a general, when the general rises and orders his people to action, and we have seen those kinds of generals in Uganda before. There was General Idi Amin, who had these kinds of antics, and when he threatened to march to Naivasha, we took him very seriously.
Yes.
And we are also aware that there have been times in the past, in the early 90s, when Ugandan soldiers started crossing into Kenya. And President Moi had to go all the way to the border and asked President Museveni to come over to a meeting at the border. You remember the meeting that was held in a tent somewhere near Chepkube before peace was restored. And even for that to happen, we had to close the border for a few days. I don't know whether Mr. Muhoozi Kainerugaba understands the meaning of a border closure. If we say that the arteries to Uganda will remain closed for a few days, it can be chaotic in the entire Great Lakes region. So those are not places you go to. But here in this cartoon, we are seeing somebody who seems to be in a dire pass and who seems to be drunk on a high octane. There's a bottle there, and there seems to be a dangerous machine somewhere on the left, and of course a camera. He's enjoying taking a selfie. So he doesn't understand the gravity of the big office that he occupies. And of course there is his father and his mother in the background. His father looking on rather worried. He must know something about what is happening in the overall constitution of this individual, because he starts looking like an individual who is unhinged. Unhinged, that is the word. He is an individual who is unhinged. And his mother is also very worried. She's whispering to the soldiers about certain precautions that they must undertake. The bottom line is that this person, as Professor Gitule says, does not even recognize that this is an office that he holds and that the person before him is the president of Uganda and the commander-in-chief. He's only seeing his father. And you saw that the tweets were saying, my father. I have talked to my father. He was not thinking about the president. So these things may look too small for him. Ambrose Weda has said that he has people who may be his friends, and they keep on calling each other my guy, my man, and we don't know what they do together. But he must know that he holds a very important office, because if he tells those below him move, they will move, regardless that the order he gives is illegal. They will move because an order, a command, is a command. You only ask afterwards, why were we fighting?
And of course, you were talking about the Peter principle.
Yes.
Does he also suffer from the Peter Pan syndrome? That he's a grown-up, yet he's not really grown-up?
He's a baby.
He's still a baby. This is what his baby is.
In the diapers.
He's still in diapers?
Yes, he's a bambino.
Kisungu kubwa. All right, let's move on so that we can move to other issues as well. Still on the front page of the Standard, we have also on the side, but there, PS shock as 9,000 apply for 49 posts. And there is a shortlist there on page 20, 27, and 32 of the Standard today, where you have the list of the PSs that we're talking about. And there was a total of 477 applicants who have been cleared to fight for the 49 positions of principal secretaries as President William Ruto puts the final touches to his government. All right, 9,000 applied. It has been pared down to 49 posts. I mean, for 49 posts that you have the shortlist there, a total of 477 applicants have been cleared to fight for the 49 positions so far. And one of us also is in this particular list. We wish you well, Professor Gitile. Mungu akubariki. Huko na kano napo naona amekuwekea mikono.
Thank you.
He says receive.
All the best.
Change of fortunes. Change of fortunes for suspects in court there. Change of fortunes is another story that you want to follow, and this one is a big one. Sirisia Member of Parliament John Waluhe and Grace Wahungu begin prison terms of over 60 years each as the court overturns decision to acquit former Kipipiri Member of Parliament Amos Kimunya over a 60 million shillings land transfer case. And this is well laid out for you on page 6 and 8 of the Standard this morning. And that has been carried over also on the front page of the Daily Nation as a splash. Bad day for graft suspects. Waluke told to pay 727 million shillings fine. Wahungu, 707 million shillings. That is what the flagger is reading here. And in one of the most dramatic corruption cases in the country's history, the courts uphold the conviction of Sirisia MP John Waluke and his business associate Grace Wahungu in a 297 million shillings maize scandal that could see them spend the rest of their lives in jail. And Wakili, we've not really crossed the Rubicon as it is right now. They can appeal. This was from the High Court. Now we have the final court.
Yes,
Supreme Court.
I think they will still go to the Court of Appeal. And I thought...
Court of Appeal or...
Court of Appeal.
Court of Appeal.
I
Oh,
thought
this was... Okay. Mm-hmm.
And I thought Wahungu had paid the fine.
I thought so.
Yeah, so I think that would be taken into account. You know, she comes from the biggest family in East and Central Africa. The biggest and the wealthiest. Wajana na hawa wengine wanarukaruka hapa na pale. That the family of Canon Awori is a big, blessed, huge family. So when this thing came up, I think they quickly raised it, and I know they will raise it. My heart goes for Waluke, Shemiwa. That's a lot of money for him and most of his friends. So he needs a very good, tough, persuasive lawyer who can also give this is the Court of Appeal, and also her call for mercy. Mercy. The court there's always, I think, section 35 of the penal code that gives the court unlimited powers to exercise mercy. You can look at you and say, okay, we have reached here, but we forgive you to this extent. Otherwise, it is, I have not looked deep into the merits of the case, but for this country, I think it sends a chilling warning for those who may be found pilfering or trying to pilfer. But the best part of it is those who think they will pilfer. So that when my brother here, Professor, becomes Principal Secretary, look away from the tail. Our tail is so small, and if you put your hand in it, some people die because you take their medicine, you take their school fees, you take many things. That's why even those who have pilfered, along the way, the King of Kings levels them. It's called the devourer. He levels them. Stolen wealth eventually you either leveled in your lifetime or in the lifetime of your grandchildren. And you can look around, you see poverty. They come back to poverty, suffering, whatever, some of them. Things just happen. You enter into a big business deal, then it goes sour and you go broke. So those who have been to public office today, please ensure that you do your best. And nobody goes to the grave just because you took money for his or her medicine for your own use. Don't feed your children on such kind of money. Don't build a house in which you live on such kind of money. Don't drive a car bought with such kind of monies. So what do you do with that money? Maybe and do Twitter. But you don't need all that money for all that. Otherwise, for feeding the family, for driving, for all these things, you need clean, good money. So my heart goes for Waluke and Sister Wahungu. I hope the Court of Appeal will have mercy on them. But the new ones who are coming, the new leadership, please learn that kubaumana. I know that Justice Maina practiced before when she was magistrate. She's a very good, brilliant, focused, and can be very mean. If she thinks you're a thief, she will look at you straight in the eye and very quietly. That's how she took the deputy president's money. He said, Pokamla says, gone. So those who are in office, as long as you're still there, please be careful. She's a good, brilliant, nice lady, nice man, but she can be very mean. You will not go there and shed tears. And she's moved. No. If she thinks you have stolen, what? So people get that message clear. Kumeumana Kenya. And I also suspect this president, this one we have, because he has been abused and insulted and kanyagad and all this, he's a thief, you're a thief. He may want to prove a point quietly. So people, be careful.
Careful. All right, so we have Waluke, we have Wakungu, we have Amos Kimonye as well with the land case. Professor?
I think, Ambrose Wenda is a very brilliant lawyer. First, he pulls a sympathy, then he really cuts deep. I have no sympathy for those fellows, for the people who we are perpetuating our culture in this country. And banned culture, a culture of basically stealing. Then we baptize its corruption so that it looks better. I think the courts are beginning to get a handle at what has been killing this country. And once this happens and it cuts deep, I think people will stop this, because if you see the temerity of stealing from KEMSA, when people are dying of COVID, stealing loans so that people die of accidents, where the culture has reached far, we have established an only caring culture. And you see the stealing, why I'm so happy with this ruling, is the theft that takes place in this country is a government engineered. It's never a theft by my friend here, for example. Today you will go to jail if he touches anything, Ambrose Wanda. It's a budgeted theft. You simply have to look at our national debt.
Yes.
To see the shock that is national debt. That is, the truth is there is even no debt if you look at it very carefully. If you look at what we have budgeted on the recurrent to pay every year, against what we have borrowed, if you go to the central bank website. So if the government, if the courts get serious, and that's why we have checks and balances. That is why we have these courts to check the executive, because it's the executive that has been robbing the country. They capture parliament. So you send, you have this year, you have 349 billion to pay. Parliament approved 800 billion to pay the 300 billion. You understand?
Yes.
They are not questioning. Okay? They don't protect us. So the court start protecting the people of Kenya. These people will stop and we will have a normal country like other people do. Because what we have right now is a culture that even doesn't stop, in the end, it will eat us all. So it has to be stopped. And therefore, magistrates like this Lindy Ambrose Wenda
Now is judge.
She's a judge now. That judge, those are the kind of people who want in the bench. Yes, because what she did, if you calculate here, she's strictly applying the law, which other judges don't apply. Because if you 7 billion, we should multiply by a certain factor to make sure that we recover everything that you took and to make sure that you get punished for it.
Thank you, thank you. Can we also have the same scale of justice? The way sometimes we found it, I think it was 3 years back, there was a 97-year-old grandmother that she was in the possession of some stolen plastic chairs, you remember? And she was put in jail, and she could not really raise the bell until a good Samaritan actually came through for her. So the same vigor of justice that was meted out for this poor lady, right, can it also be meted out, right, on this particular wealthy people, so to speak, that are in the slumbers right now? Because she was not really spared, despite the fact that she was 97 and old, and it was not really her making that she was in possession of these stolen plastic chairs. I think it was the grandson who had stolen these particular chairs, but because she was the one found with the chairs, she was an accomplice, in connivance of that particular thievery. You're saying no?
Yes,
I have it,
you got it right,
yes.
but let me tell you, as the way we treat children, and as people grow older and older and older, they recede almost to the level of children.
Yes.
So when you find a 97-year-old with some plastic chairs, you don't treat them the way you treat somebody who has taken money that would be used to treat people, and people have died and been buried. Yes, judges, magistrates, we are also human beings. There are basic things you look at and you say this one. If the way we were arguing here and saying one or two things in English, if you can look at it as we were insulting one another, or you can look at it we are also joking. So you look at the old, you judge a case on the basis, this is an old lady, why did you get, oh, it's my grandson who bought it, he may not have known. You can't deal with those who have taken camps and people have died and been buried. So you tamper justice with mercy. I would not, as a judge, have locked in such a lady. If it is difficult, I would have fined her and then paid for her. Yes. Say, okay, this is wrong in law, but in life now I'm your grandson, so I'll rescue you. There are things we do as human beings. We are human beings. We represent God in this space.
Prof, allow me to just a moment, Prof. Allow me to go to Barak and also Isaac on this as well. Barak.
Okay, thank you. Now that you talk about scale, let us get it right. Pilferage is actually not what these guys are doing. Pilferage is stealing of tiny, invaluable little things, like those chairs that you talk about. What these people are involved with is grand theft, grand larceny. And in some societies, people who engaged in grand larceny were stoned until they died. And I think it's still being done in certain communities that are driven by religious laws and considerations. So pilferage, when we say to pilfer, is to steal small things, like this ballpoint pen here. You can pilfer it, or some fellows who pick little things in shops, supermarkets.
Shoplifters. And there was a president who stole a pen.
Yeah. and they get some joy.
But he's still a president who stole a pen. Officially in public.
He feels kind of nice. It gives him a kick to do something of that kind, to pilfer. It lifts him. Yeah. So I think from today, when we say pilferage, we will not be referring to these grand thieves. But I agree entirely with Senior Counsel Ambrose Weda that a case such as the one that you refer to was blown out of proportion.
Thank you. So who is this president who stole this? Was it during an inauguration?
No, it was a meeting.
It was a meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we are a country that needs to change its culture. When the lowly see that the top are stealing, then it tends to become the norm. We have a very good judiciary system, highly respectable. We have very good judges in our country and magistrates. Look at what Esther Maina has done to deal with the vice that is really disturbing our country. And we need to support them. If you ever sat down with some of these judges and lawyers to get to know about the culture in this country, you'll be shocked. People that you see in real life are totally different in the back of their operations, in the way that they do things. And therefore, we need to give the confidence that we must give to the judiciary. We are at a point that right now, there is none who can point the other to say that they are cleaner than the other. But we have a tremendous opportunity in this country that we now have a new government. And we are looking forward to face the future with a lot of confidence, where issues must be dealt with head-on. Those who have stolen need to be taken where they belong, and they need to be explained. There are issues, of course, that must be presented to the parliament, to be dealt with, to be understood, the real approach, especially when we get to issues of understanding what exactly has happened, the proof of what has detailed, one to be called what they are. Yes, there needs to be fairness, and I agree totally with Wakili Mwenye Akili on how the judges need to look at things from a very practical point of view. But yes, we have an opportunity. Let's start right. You know, things don't go wrong, Debal. Things start wrong, as Jackson Marty said one day. And therefore, we need to get the right people in the right place. The president has put in a list of, has forwarded, transmitted names for the CSs.
Yes.
We now have PSs, a honorable person like Professor here. that need to be considered. Their background needs to be checked. What have they been involved in? And there's no one who cannot change in life. This is a reality. But we must draw a line as this government starts. Everybody to be supported. The roles that every institution, including the opposition, that must play the oversight role. Because once you leave anyone just to do anything that they need to do, we are going to have a country that is going into the drains. So let's start in the best way possible. Let us be fair. Let us be seen to be doing. You know, if you have an opportunity to listen even to a chicken thief in the village, and God gives you the grace to listen to them, they will tell you that my mother was in hospital. She was required to get some special medication in this space. And as I was coming out of there, I saw a chicken going out there because I did not have any money. I grabbed this chicken and I took it over to sell. But now that you have found me, I was actually going to ask for forgiveness. I was headed to the church. You can listen to some of the things and you just say, where enda? This was actually a big problem. But you see, wrong is wrong, whether at lower level or at high level. And it is at the whims of our justice systems and the individuals, because there is human face that is supposed to be applied. So let's just follow the law and deal with what we must deal, knowing that we are all wrong and we need to correct our country and put it in the best place possible.
Right. The fact that, okay, Professor, you continue, then I ask the question.
Yes, I just want then to say a recommendation that I really hope and pray the new government is going to implement, move an amendment to Article 99 sub Article 3.
Yes.
That is against the clause in our constitution. When you see, as it is right now, you can give somebody this minute, get convicted, appeal, and they will become president of Kenya. We need to get rid of that article. This business of exhausting the appeals when you have been convicted. I think the moment a court of law convict you, because we trust in the procedure and the processes which arrives at that conviction, then you should go there and declare yourself, then you come back for public service. That article, I think, is a danger to changing this culture. You see, Dr. here said that things don't go wrong as they move. They start wrong. We have to admit that we started this country wrong. And we are continuing compounding that problem. So we need a severe approach in order to correct this culture. Because you see, look here, I know Ambrose is not agreeing with me, but just look at us. Everybody who has serious money in this country either worked with the government or trended with the government. We don't have Bill Gates here, okay? We don't have the inventors. You know, the people have invented. You invented a computer or you invented this. What I'm talking is actually the serious money. So in order to get over this, we need what you can call a reasonable approach. We need to amend Article 99, sub-Article 3, and remove this idea of until you exhaust, you are still a clean person.
And that is the reason, actually, that we have leaders in this country who, in every aspect of human perception, they are thugs, they are thieves, and they are in place. And they are working, and you cannot remove them just because of that article that needs to be changed. And at the same time, even as we say that, you wonder, okay, he's a thief, he's a thug, he's everything that you can call. So what is the difference between that one and the person who is on the other side? So you find that we are all in a situation that is so terrible, and there must be a way of dealing with this. And I think revisiting the Constitution to deal with that particular article is a solution for this country's direction towards a better...
Why is my blood pressure going up hearing Kenyans who sleep and wake up and enjoy the very freedom that some people died to bring on board? Let us remove from our lips. Anytime we talk, amend this constitution, amend this constitution, amend this constitution. We prayed and fasted and fought that the BBI should be dead as a dodo. It died. Now, every time, amend this, amend this, amend this. That's sad. But the sad part is somebody suggesting that be denied what is called due process. Due process. Due process has been on the basis of the fallibility of the human being. That's why we have layers. Human beings are fallible. They make mistakes, there are prejudices, there are problems, they get the wrong things. That's why we say, we try in the magistrate's court, you go to the high court, you go to the court of appeal, and to some extent, it's given an opportunity. And many cases the US have told us, some people have been convicted and their cases concluded. Then many years, somebody comes and says, you convicted him of murder, but it was not him. It was me. This is the evidence. And the people have been acquitted even in death. Some people have been acquitted after many years in jail. So when you hear somebody saying, you go to a magistrate, convicted, out, you are telling us that if I think the bar will be a problem in the electoral process, what we do is we quickly get some charges against him, convict them quickly, and then they can't run. That's exactly, they even tried to do it with this coming president. You saw when it was Kamata, all this, had that provision not been there, they would have just picked their enemies, this one, that one, say charge them. They can't run. Let us not make that suggestion when you have woken up, eaten breakfast, the other day you ate caviar, you have well fed, then you say, jail, please be careful. Some of us went to that house to ensure that there is freedom. You talk and you go and sleep. And now we are lucky we have a judiciary. A judiciary that is so independent that if the president on this side and you're on this side, you stand a chance of winning. That is not, that's a blessing. That's something great. There were days when just a mere chief, I'm not saying so low, but a mere chief, if you have a problem with a chief in court, in the village, your goose is cooked. But now you can go with President Uhuru or President Ruto or President Raila and you tell them, see you in court. And they lose and you say you have lost. That is a great achievement. Never make those suggestions again. Let the process be exhausted.
Debal,
all right.
Debal, before you continue, this is a very serious issue. And I don't think in any of our suggestions makes suggestion that people need to be convicted when they are wrong. What I'm talking about is we are in a country that is terrible in terms of dealing with issues that we must deal with. We must draw a line. And that is where we are saying that we have an opportunity. There must be due process. We have judges, we have a judiciary system that is very efficient. When they know that as a responsibility, just like we have in the presidency and as we have in the parliament, that they have to deal with issues conclusively, they will be more careful. And therefore, we are not trying, and I will never be part of anyone trying to say that we just take things for the sake of it. We all know that we are in a problem, and we need to draw a line and deal with this issue head on. And dealing with this issue head on is where simply if you have been convicted in future and as we move on and it has been proved and there is something that has been placed on your road and what you are supposed to, just step aside, allow other people to continue, and because life is about perception. If you're leading me and you're not a straight person, I will definitely try and do something else. Look at people who are thieves. Their institutions also, the culture is of thievery all through going down because people tend to imitate their leader in one way or another. We must draw a line. We must bring it out in a honorable way, and also including what Wakili has talked about, because there will be always back and forth. And there are systems of the High Court, there is the judiciary at all levels that we must be able to apply. So I'm not in any way, and we will never, I don't think Prof will
Look
also...
Look at the case of Waititu.
Yeah.
Look at the case of Waititu. He lost his position. He was out of office. Now it turns out...
There is no evidence.
Yes, yet now his period is gone.
Yes, but there is also treatment to such.
But let me ask you, we have this case of Oloke that has been, it's a long drawn case for almost a decade.
Yes.
What has been happening in a decade? And also in comparison with Waititu, that we do not really have evidence. Were they stitching evidence together throughout the 10-year period that this case has taken, and now we have a determination? And Waititu's, it's even less than, and you don't really have any scrap of evidence?
See,
and I want you to, I want you also, even as you're just marinating over that, I think it will be nice to I thought we had the editorial cartoon there so that you can comment on it as well. This is in the Daily Nation, and this is what we're looking. And this is where Isaac is really coming from. That we have these leaders, we put them, they still have cases in the courts that is awaiting determination. They go to the polls, and then we have a determination from the courts. Now, it's torn in between parliament and prison. And you can see one leg is going to the prison, the other leg is is coming from parliament. The question is, we have CSs also who have been nominated right now, vetting by parliament. Cases are hanging over them. Maybe the courts will make determination against, not in their favor. Then again, we'll have the same exercise of going to get other CSs. We're going to by-elections in how many constituencies right now? Almost 3.
I think we shouldn't complain that we are going to a by-election. It's part of the democratic process. It is costly. We have to swing back and forth. But I'm extremely worried when I listen to my 2 neighbors to the left and right, that basically what they are doing is opening up or campaigning for the opening up of the door to political McCarthyism. Yeah? You remember Senator McCarthy?
Yes.
And
the communism.
All your enemies, your detractors needed to do was to say this man is a communist.
He's a communist.
And you would be arrested, you would even be jailed, because there's that mood. It's a witch hunt, like the Salemite witch hunts of the 1500s. Someone can just wake up and say that this one is a witch. I saw him, I saw her in my dreams last night. They've been doing certain voodoo things against me. The rights of an individual are very important, and when we talk about liberalism, it starts with individual and personal liberty. And so in a country such as ours, where we have seen people victimized, Peter Kibisu was jailed, Mark Mwithaka was jailed. They were jailed illicitly. Indeed, even the youthful Roson Macharia later on recanted his testimony against Jomo Kenyatta. He said, I was paid by the colonial authorities to give false evidence against Jomo Kenyatta. In spite of that, the colonialists wanted Kenyatta to be in jail, and he served the full sentence of 7 years, and they added him even another 2 years on top, because that was where they wanted him. So I think we are dealing with a more complex issue here than just remove Article 99(3). Waluke will keep walking one leg towards prison and the other one towards parliament until the appellate process is exhausted.
All right. We need to take a short break. When we circle back with that, of course, we'll hear from you, Dr. Kalua. We're taking a short break, but also just to give you as a teaser here, on the front page of a Star, very interesting story there, as a sidebar, how I lost 76 million shillings to West African Muganga. This is what Danson Mungatana is saying. Tana River Senator Danson Mungatana on Thursday gave an emotional account on how he lost all his wealth in a get-rich-quick scam by an alleged West African witch doctor. The legislator told Magistrate Benmark Ehubi that he sold all his property and gave the money to Abdullahi Tamba Kuro, who lied that he would help him invest it and give returns. That story is well fleshed out on page 2, right? These are some of our leaders as well. Danson Mungatana is resident, of course, guest